It's June 21st here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with South Korea's condemnation of the Kim Jong-un-Vladimir Putin summit. Seoul slammed the two sides forging a deeper partnership and says it's considering supplying arms to Ukraine, which Putin says would be a big mistake. South Korea called for the UN Security Council to control real and present cybersecurity threats head-on as the Council's rotating president. Thursday's meeting marked the first official UNSC meeting on cybersecurity since June 2021. South Korea remains off a U.S. list of countries to have their foreign exchange policies monitored for the second straight time. Included in the latest list were 7 countries, including China and Japan. After North Korea and Russia inked a deal to mutually assist each other in the event of an attack, South Korea says it'll re-examine the idea of weapons support for Ukraine. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young starts us off.
South Korea will consider sending weapons support to Ukraine and slap extra sanctions on Russia as it condemns the Kremlin's pact with North Korea to strengthen military and economic ties. National Security Advisor Kang Ho-jin on Thursday delivered the South Korean government's stance after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin met Wednesday in Pyongyang and agreed that in the event of war, they would provide one another with military and other assistance, with all means at disposal without delay. Kang said he sees any form of cooperation that provides direct or indirect support towards building up North Korea's military as a violation of United Nations Security Council sanctions, vowing a firm response.
Especially as a permanent member of the UN Security Council that led sanctions against North Korea, Russia's violation of its resolutions by supporting North Korea threatens our security and will inevitably harm Seoul-Moscow relations.
Since the outbreak of war in Ukraine in 2022, South Korea has maintained a policy of providing only humanitarian aid and non-lethal military supplies to Ukraine. Kang says the government will now reconsider that policy. A senior presidential official later told reporters he would not specify whether lethal weapons are being considered, but various options are being reviewed and will be revealed in time. Seoul also plans to strengthen its sanctions policy, targeting 243 new subjects, including 4 Russian ships, 5 organizations, and 8 North Korean individuals involved in weapons and oil exchanges between the two sides.
There are currently 1,159 items that are subject to export controls to Russia that have been used since the Ukraine war, but the government has decided to add 243 new items, so a total of 1,402 items will be subject to sanctions in the future.
Kang said the measures were decided during a regular National Security Council meeting after a review of Pyongyang and Moscow's Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Pact released on Thursday morning, but noted all specific details had not yet been fully grasped. While the North Korean leader declared the treaty raises their partnership to an alliance, the Russian president's more subdued remarks suggest otherwise. The treaty's controversial Article 4 on mutual assistance refers to their respective domestic laws, and Article 51 of the UN Charter that recognizes a state's right to self-defense. This suggests the current pact may not trigger an immediate Allied intervention as a mutual defence treaty would, according to a senior official. In any case, Seoul says it will firmly respond to any actions threatening its security in cooperation with the international community, and further reinforce the South Korea-US alliance and their trilateral cooperation with Japan to neutralise North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. Meanwhile, the US State Department on Thursday said it welcomes any support for Ukraine in fighting Russia's aggression, but the question of supplying weapons is each country's decision to make. Washington also expressed deep concern over Putin's threat to supply Pyongyang with weapons as a response to support for Kyiv, warning that such a move would destabilize the Korean peninsula. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And Putin has warned South Korea that providing lethal weapons to Ukraine would be a big mistake, and said that Russia might supply high-precision weapons to North Korea. Our Choi Soo-hyung tells us more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that it will be a very big mistake if South Korea provides lethal weapons to Ukraine, and that Russia will respond if it does. According to TASS and Sputnik news agencies, President Putin made this statement during a press conference in Hanoi, Vietnam on Thursday as he concluded his tour of North Korea and Vietnam. On the same day, South Korea's presidential office said it would reconsider the issue of providing weapons to Ukraine, criticizing the treaty and the comprehensive strategic partnership signed between North Korea and Russia. So far, the South Korean government has maintained a principle of not supplying lethal weapons to Ukraine. Regarding the North and Russia signing the treaty, Putin said there's nothing new compared to the one signed in the 1960s and that South Korea does not need to worry as the military assistance only applies when either one is attacked. Putin also mentioned that Moscow has not asked Pyongyang for any support for a special military operation in Ukraine. However, he added that Russia is currently monitoring the situation as Ukraine's attacks on the border area of Belgorod with Western long-range weapons are considered an invasion. He also said that Moscow does not rule out providing Pyongyang with high-precision weapons in response to Western countries providing weapons to Ukraine. The Russian president said that while the crisis on the Korean peninsula is heating up, he hopes the treaty with North Korea and Russia will have some deterrent effect. Cheon, Arirang News.
South Korea has presided over the first UN Security Council meeting on cybersecurity in 3 years. And Seoul's Foreign Minister Cho called for the council to confront cybersecurity threats head-on. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The UN Security Council on Thursday convened an official meeting on cybersecurity, as North Korea has been relying on illicit cyber activities to evade UNSC sanctions and general revenue to fund its nuclear and missile programs. The meeting is seen as being significant, given rising tensions on the Korean peninsula. Marking the first official UNSC meeting on the issue since June 2021, South Korean Foreign Minister Cho presided over the meeting as the Council's rotating president. There, he said the Council must confront real and present cybersecurity threats head-on, while stressing the UNSC's role in the fight.
The linkage of cyber threats and international peace and security is evident, and the Security Council has a key role to play in addressing cyber threats to fulfill its primary responsibility for maintenance of international peace and security.
Cho said the cybersecurity threat posed by North Korea is nothing new, noting that the regime systematically evades sanctions adopted by the UNSC and challenges international non-proliferation through its illicit activities. The minister cited a report of the expert panel of the Security Council's North Korea Sanctions Committee, which found that North Korea has procured 40% of the funds for the development of weapons of mass destruction through illegal cyber activities. For the UNSC to tackle cyber threats, Cho put forward a three-step approach of diagnosis, prescription, and treatment to respond to cybersecurity-related issues. South Korea, the United States, and Japan hosted an informal UNSC meeting in April on North Korea's evolving cyber threats. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Nvidia became the most valuable company in the world on Tuesday, beating Microsoft. How big will it grow? We're joined by Professor Kim Se-won this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Professor, for those of us who may still not be too familiar with this firm, walk us through what this company is about and why it's become so big.
Nvidia is basically a chip designing company. They produce their chips through collaboration with TSMC of Taiwan. This company pioneered the development of GPUs, or graphics processing units. The GPU actually revolutionized computer graphics. Their GPUs became essential for gaming, professional visualization, and other graphics-intensive applications. Recently, Nvidia became one of the most influential companies in global IT industries as artificial intelligence market quickly expands, represented by ChatGPT. The size of artificial intelligence industry almost doubles every year. And it turned out that Nvidia's GPUs are highly effective for parallel processing, which is crucial for training artificial intelligence and machine learning models. Particularly, Nvidia's GPU-based platform enabled AI developers to leverage GPU power for computational tasks beyond graphics.
So huge growth there and becoming the most valuable firm in the world, surpassing Microsoft and Apple. Although it was a brief one, still, what does that mean?
The economic interpretation of stock price is present value of future profit of that company. In this respect, we can say that Nvidia's future profit will exceed those of Microsoft and Apple. In addition, Nvidia is to become the most valuable firm in the world indicates a high level of investor confidence in Nvidia's future prospects, reflecting strong expectations of growth, innovation, and profitability. Nvidia's leadership in artificial intelligence and high-performing computing would be further intensified, potentially influencing more companies to adopt Nvidia's technologies and platforms for their artificial intelligence and computational needs.
The AI momentum is indeed real, and some people say what makes Nvidia excel is that it doesn't have, too much of competitors. Is that it?
Well, that is not actually true. While Nvidia is a dominant player in several markets, it is not accurate to say that it doesn't have competitors. Nvidia's success is not due to a lack of competition, but rather its ability to outpace competitors through continuous innovation and strategic positioning. For example, in graphic processing units, AMD is a significant competitor in the GPU market with its Radeon series. AMD has been a strong contender in both of gaming and professional GPU markets. Also, another big IT giant, Intel, has entered this discrete GPU market with its Intel Arc series, aiming to compete in gaming artificial intelligence.
Well, and I'm sure Nvidia boom is something that local firms here in the country are closely following. Let's talk about that.
Yes, that is a very important point for Korean economy. To attract Nvidia's attention, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, two major players in semiconductor industry, need to focus on strategic initiatives and collaborations that align with Nvidia's interests and goals. Develop cutting-edge DRAM and NAND flash memory solutions that can support Nvidia's high-performance GPUs and AI processors. Another very important part is that innovative in areas like HBM, high bandwidth memory, and other advanced memory technologies that complement Nvidia's needs for faster data processing and greater memory bandwidth in GPUs. In providing better HBMs to Nvidia, two domestic firms, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, are seriously competing these days.
Well, before I let you go, Professor Kim, I have to ask you, how big can Nvidia get? I mean, some people say Nvidia stock will reach that $10 trillion market cap by 2030. What's your take on this?
Well, that is a tough question. Actually, economics does not support to answer future stock price. But if I do my best guessing on it, Nvidia's market value exceed $10 trillion until 2030 is a possible scenario. It also means that Nvidia's market value triples in the next 6 years. But for this scenario, two important assumptions should be satisfied. The first is artificial intelligence industries grows over 50% per year until 2030. And the next assumption is that the Nvidia's technological innovation advancement in artificial intelligence and machine learning continue, and its leadership in AI and machine learning is maintained until 2030.
All right, Professor Kim Seon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As always, you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
South Korea has now been named on a U.S. Treasury Department list of countries to monitor their foreign exchange policies for the second straight time. The U.S. Treasury Department released its semi-annual report to Congress, a macroeconomic and foreign exchange policies of major trading partners of the U.S. on Thursday, which includes China, Japan, Taiwan, and Germany, among other countries. Countries are put on the list when they meet two of three criteria, including a bilateral trade surplus with the U.S. of at least $15 billion and persistent one-sided intervention in the foreign currency market. Now, South Korea had been on the list since 2016 until it was excluded from the last report published in November. President Yoon was back on the road again on Thursday to host a policy discussion after more than a month's pause due to diplomatic events. Now, the first stop was Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
Gyeongsangbuk-do Province as Northeast Asia's manufacturing innovation hub. That was the topic of President Yoon 26th policy discussion with citizens on Thursday at the province's Yeongnam University. Among the many things that President Yoon pledged to make this happen were improvements to the underdeveloped transportation infrastructure.
교통 인프라 확충은 경북의 제조 혁신 허브로의 도약을 위해서 반드시 필요하고 또 도민들의 삶의 질 향상에도 필수적입니다. 먼저 사업계획 검토 막바지 단계인 3조 4천억 규모의 영일만 횡단 고속도로 건설을 빠르게 추진하겠습니다.
This would connect two different ports in Pohang, the nation's steel mill city on the east coast. It'll be 18 kilometers long and will contain bridges. On top of this, President Yoon has pledged to support the establishment of a 300 billion won, or around $260 million industrial complex for SMRs, or small modular reactors, in Gyeongju, another city in the province. The new type of nuclear energy technology is being sought after by countries around the world to get ahead in the technology, and President Yoon is looking to make Gyeongju the nation's SMR manufacturing hub. He also pledged to support the region's hydrogen energy production sectors, tourism, as well as agricultural business. Meanwhile, President Yoon praised the region for its history of providing a basis for the nation's economic success. The region is where the Saemaeul Undong came from, a community-driven development program in the 70s when it was still battling poverty, a movement that has been credited as making the miracle on the Hangang River possible. In fact, Yeongnam University has a department dedicated to studying the movement and international development, with many up-and-coming African young students coming to learn about it. This was brought up during the recent Korea-Africa Summit as well.
새마을 운동과 우리의 발전 경험을 학문화한 영남대의 새마을 학은 지난 한아프리카 정상회의에서도 각국 정상들에게 많은 관심과 주목을 받았습니다. 많은 국가의 리더들이 또 리더가 될 청년들이 이곳에서 국가 발전에 관한 공부를 하고 큰 기여를 했다는 얘기를 아프리카 각국 정상들에게 많이 들었습니다.
This 26th policy discussion was participated by around 100 government officials and citizens, including business leaders in hydrogen and nuclear energy, entrepreneurs, and local residents. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Good morning. I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn to stories from around the world. The Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte is set to become the next Secretary General of NATO following the withdrawal of the only other candidate in the race. 57-year-old Rutte officially became the only candidate left to replace the incumbent NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg after Romanian President Klaus Iohannis withdrew his bid at the end of last week. Stoltenberg's term as the chief of the military alliance expires in October, 10 years after he took office in 2014. Rutte, who served as the Dutch Prime Minister for almost 14 years, put his name down for NATO's top job in the wake of the collapse of his coalition government last summer. He is a fierce critic of the Russian President Vladimir Putin and has been actively promoting Europe's military support for Ukraine since 2022. Now moving over to India. At least 36 people died and more than 60 have been admitted to hospital as of Thursday after consuming illicit tainted liquor sold in the country's southern state of Tamil Nadu. According to a government spokesperson, since Wednesday, over 100 people have been suffering from stomach aches, diarrhea and vomiting and required medical treatment. Police arrested a 49-year-old man named as Govindaraj for producing and selling the illicit liquor, seizing some 200 litres of it. The Tamil Nadu state government has also suspended at least 10 officials, including the police chief and the district's collector. The illegally produced tainted alcohol is commonplace in India, where many cannot afford branded spirits. Last year, more than a dozen people died in a similar incident. Now to the US, where a wildfire in the state of New Mexico continued to burn out of control on Thursday, despite efforts from firefighters dropping water and fire retardant from the air and bringing in heavy equipment to construct fire lines. Local police said Wednesday there had been at least 2 fatalities, including one unidentified person found in the driver's seat of a scorched vehicle. The state's governor confirmed on the same day that over 1,400 structures, including homes, were destroyed in the southern part of the state. She also requested a major disaster declaration from President Joe Biden for the fires, which have burned up almost 100 square kilometers of land. The United Kingdom's King Charles and Queen Camilla attended Day 3 of Royal Ascot on Thursday, one of the highlights of the summer social calendar in Great Britain. The royal couple arrived in a carriage during the royal procession for the horse racing event, which was beloved by Charles's late mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The Royal Ascot horse racing event, usually highlighted by the spectators' traditional classic fashion, was founded in 1711 by Queen Anne. The popular luxury event held at the Berkshire Racecourse is expected to draw more than 250,000 spectators from all over the world and will run until Saturday.
Good morning. A scorching heat wave in central regions in Jeollabuk-do continues on this summer solstice. Parts of Gyeonggi-do, including Goyang, are under a heat wave warning, though. Southern provinces, meanwhile, got some nice relief yesterday, but afternoon highs returned right back to the 30s this afternoon. Then Seoul gets up to 34 degrees, Daejeon at 32 under mostly sunny skies with strong UV rays. But monsoon rain takes a break on Jeju today with a high of nice 28 degrees Celsius. But rain returns to Jeju early tomorrow, dropping up to 200 millimeters of heavy showers into Sunday. The south coast will also see downpours. Monsoon season also starts in southern parts of the country this weekend with 10 to 60 millimeters of showers expected for Gyeongsangbuk-do Provinces. It's not going to rain in the capital over the weekend, but showers will bring much needed heat relief to central regions. The new week starts on a rainy note in Seoul and Kangwon provinces. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We will be back next Monday at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.